I don't think God wants people to be poor. And today in the world, America especially, is this gap between the rich and everybody else. And I know the game of the rich. The game the bankers and the rich play is different than what they teach you in school. And that's the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know, my Poor Dad, PhD, stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. They don't know anything about money. And they're teaching our kids. And my Rich Dad was an entrepreneur who never finished school. I grew up in Hawaii. So all of the pieces of the puzzle, and when Fuller scolded me back in '83, the pieces of the puzzle and my life started to come together. And I understood what he was saying then. And, you know, the question I ask all over the world, what does school teach you about money? And the answer is nothing. And that's not a mistake. That's not an accident. I knew that. Most people know that. But the way to keep the poor and middle class working hard is never teach them what the rich know. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which came out in 1997, it's what the rich teach their kids about money, the poor and middle class do not. And so, and I had already retired. I made enough money at 47, so I didn't have to work again for the rest of my life. And I said, now what do I do with the rest of my life? And so that's when I came out with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the cash flow game, because poverty hurts. I mean, I don't like it. And I don't like that our academic system's so corrupt. You know, we know the banking system's corrupt. We know politics is corrupt. But academics is just as corrupt. So I just said, well, if exactly as Fuller said, what does God want done, not what I want done. Martin Luther King said it another way. King says, I just want to do God's will. So that's what I cover in Faith. What does God want done?
And the fact that it's corrupted our academic institution, that kind of makes you mad, doesn't it?
They don't want what we know out there. So that's why fake is fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. And the asset part, you know where that comes from. It's the City of London, Wall Street, the derivatives markets, LTCM, long-term capital management records. And all of us that know are kind of getting out. That's why I love Jim Rickards. I had dinner with him the other night. That's why we're talking. This is what's really going on. But our school system will never tell us that because they're part of the process. Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. They're all one scenario. And that's what Bucky Fuller's kind of inspired me to do back in '83. He says, you know something. What do you know? Share it. What does God want done? Or as Martin Luther King says, I just want to do God's will. So what drives me on in my health is not the best, but the will, you know, the spirit keeps me on. First of all, let's go back to what is financial education? It's not get a job, work hard, save money, and invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. That's not it. You know, money is, the financial industry is two things, debt and taxes. Debt and taxes. And that's where fake starts. 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, and the US dollar became debt. And we still tell kids to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, and get out of debt. Now, who tells them to do that? That's the most ridiculous thing there is. Why would you save it and why would you work for it if they can print it faster than you can work for it? And number two is they keep dropping the interest rates on it. You know, Japan still has zero interest rate policy. And the Japanese are the biggest savers in the world. And I'm Japanese, I'm fourth generation. They're not too bright.
Right.
Why do you keep saving when they're printing it? You know, when I'm in Japan, that's what I mean by fear. They're so afraid because the Japanese, they're very a good culture, but they do as they're told. They're afraid they might make a mistake. They're good little students in school. Go to school, get a job. And the military education is different than academic education. We're taught to make mistakes. You know, so every day I'd fly and we had to kill the engine on our aircraft and crash. We always practice crashing. Because one day, as you know, you will crash.
And you did crash.
And I did crash 3 times. But if I didn't practice that, I'd be dead. You know, I mean, for me to fly in Vietnam, that was high risk. But the higher the risk, the more you have to study. So what happens to the average person in a financial crash, they don't know what to do. And right now, as you know, for the middle class of the world, we're in a crash. You know, the purchasing power of the yen, the euro, the rupiah, all going down. And people are working harder and harder and harder. And the central banks of the world are printing more money. Interest rates, you know, Trump just told the Fed, don't you raise those interest rates. Well, that screws all the savers. You know that, I know that. So if you're not going to study, you're not going to practice and all that, then you should do what Wall Street tells you to do. Buy, you know, 401ks, mutual funds, ETFs and all that. But that's where they're fake assets, because they only make Wall Street or the City of London rich. Just watch where the cash is flowing. Follow the money.
Yeah.
It's not making the poor middle class rich. You know, all Wall Street in America has done is rip off the pensions, because, you know, pensions are the biggest pool of money in America. And states like Kentucky, New Jersey, Illinois, California, Hawaii are going bankrupt because Wall Street went in and just sucked all the cash out of their pensions. So the school teachers like my dad, the firefighters and police officers, they have no retirement now. And so that's why it's fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. They're the same system. And that's what Bucky Fuller encouraged me years and years ago. He says, you better tell the world what you know. That's what I knew. So what that meant was in 781, they could print as much money as they wanted. So as the economy of the United States worsened, you know, the deficit, trade deficit was going up, they could print and print and print and print. So that's why when you read fake, it says, the people that are being screwed today are the poor and middle class because they work for money. You know, the bankers, they're not working for money.
They have money working for them.
Yep.
Right.
Very big difference in mentality here. So we have, in America today, we have, you know, even Ray Dalio of Bridgewater, one of the biggest hedge fund guys in America. He's saying this gap between the rich and everybody else is too wide. Well, you could have seen that back in 1972. Because the moment you corrupt money, the very thing that everybody works for, saves, counts on, they were screwed anyway. And our school systems, fake money, fake teachers, fake assets, part of that same system. Government, education, Wall Street, or City of London.
You said when someone gives you a paycheck, something inside of a person just shuts off, right?
Rich don't work for money. Don't you touch that stuff. Well, the reason the rich don't work for money is number one expense is tax. See, there's 3 kinds of income: earned, portfolio, passive. So earned income is if I get a job, that's earned income. If I'm a doctor or a programmer, that's earned income because I'm working for it. If I buy, let's say, Apple for $10 and I sell it for $20, that's portfolio income, capital gains.
Yeah.
But passive income, which is cash flow, is never taxed. So it's not, so these guys are screaming right now in America, tax the rich. I said, good luck. Because most of the guys complaining, they don't know there's 3 kinds of income. And the rich don't have jobs anyway. They have assets. And so the average schmo out there, poor guy, you know, sent the kid to school. They don't learn this.
Right.
You know, assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money from your pocket. They count anything of value as an asset. They count your car as an asset, your house as an asset. When it's really taking money from your pocket. Your retirement plan, guess what? It's a liability. It's taking money from your pocket every month. And whose pocket does it go to? Wall Street or City of London. And that's why, as you and I know, these funds, you know, they sit there, they go, assets under management. That's what they're paid on. You're not making any money, but they're making fortunes on the fees and assets under management. And most of these hedge fund guys and all that, you're not making any money, but they're sucking the fees out every day.
Right.
So I own 7,000 rental properties. Those are assets. Every month, the cash flows in. Whereas many people have the big house on the hill and the cash is flowing out. We don't say, well, the tax laws are only for the rich. No, the tax laws are for everybody to use if you have the right financial education. And the reason I'm an advocate of financial education, without that education, you'll have to pay taxes. You see, very few people will buy what I do, make $1 million and pay zero tax. That takes, and my rich dad taught me that playing Monopoly. That's how it started. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Or the McDonald's formula. I write about it here. McDonald's, Ray Kroc.
Yeah.
McDonald's is in the real estate business. So they sell hamburgers, but they buy real estate, so they pay no taxes. This guy Bezos, he's $16 billion. How much tax did they pay on that $16 billion? Zero.